Welcome to the LA Business Podcast, a forum for business owners and senior executives to share the experiences about the elements that drive their success. Your host is Robert Brill, CEO of Brill Media.co, an Inc. 500 company delivering the power of hyperlocal advertising. Robert writes for Forbes, Inc., and ad trade publications. Our goal is to bring you the stories about successes and failures of people who are making big things happen in marketing, entrepreneurship, and management.
Hey everyone, before we get started with this episode of the LA Business Podcast, we have a little bit of a change of venue. We recorded these episodes live at the Social Media Marketing World Conference in San Diego, California. And I met some really interesting people, and I record these episodes live because I wanted to hear their stories and I wanted to bring them to you. So I hope you enjoy the podcast and I hope you enjoy the episode, and I hope you can forgive the sound quality that you might hear, the background noise. All right, here we go. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the LA Business Podcast. Today we have Daniel Glickman, CMO of Wave.video. Daniel, thanks for being with us.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
So we met last night at a really cool party. You had a bow tie and a really cool suit on, the Roaring 20s party here at Social Media Marketing World. What I found interesting about the conversation is you have some interesting ideas about how to market a technology platform. Let's jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about Wave.video, what it is, who it's for, and then ultimately we want to go into how you're growing, the things that you've done to grow and what 2020 looks like. And it's really about growing and scaling your business.
Awesome. Yeah. So Wave.video, we're based out of Boston. It's a software that allows marketers or digital marketers to leverage their videos for marketing funnels, essentially, or create video funnels. It's a term that we essentially use to describe what most marketers are doing today, but maybe are not completely conscious about. Whereas taking a set of videos, a sequence of videos that lead the viewer to action. Sort of similar to what we used to be doing with emails and blog posts and content, right? And now we're doing it with video. And so our platform empowers marketers to do exactly that.
So does this, so just interesting about the product here, I guess the question is does this replace the landing page, or does this live with the landing page? Or what are some best uses of your technology? Right.
So there are many different flows or use cases. There are a few different places you would use video in your funnel. Usually the funnel start with social media or ads. So you have shorter clips. Maybe you have a webinar that you had, and directing traffic to the next step in the funnel, which may be subscribe to my email and then get the full version of the webinar. So in which case you would have a landing page, or you'd host it somewhere on your website, but you want to password protect that so you can hand over the password to people who actually subscribe to your newsletter.
Got it.
So this is just two steps, right? So you have the social usually. Sometimes you start with SEO widgets and things like that, but usually you start with social nowadays. Then you get some kind of educational content. Then you bring them to the site itself, where you'd have a promotional video of some sort, and eventually a sales video, right? So all of these are just a sequence of videos in different places, and you're trying to get people to go from one to the next.
And they serve different purposes. They educate the consumer in different ways along their consumer journey. So it sounds like your platform, I saw some of your demo, you have the ability to edit videos, create videos for multiple formats, including Instagram stories. It looks like a really incredibly powerful tool.
It is. It combines the features of hosting platforms and editing platforms in one. And I think the biggest difference is that when you're looking at discovery platforms that are typically used for hosting, such as the YouTube likes, right? They're really designed around how to get more people to watch more of my videos. So which is really good for brand awareness, but not good for digital marketers. We think in terms of funnels, I want people to watch my video. I want to tell them in the video what to do, and I want them to do that. Right. I don't want them to watch more videos. Sometimes that's powerful too, but normally the way I think as a digital marketer is watch my video. I'm going to teach you in my video how to do something. And then I want you to take the next action, which is maybe subscribe to something, give me some info, or buy my stuff. Right. So that's what makes us unique, and how we position ourselves, and the features that we have are geared around that use case.
So who are your customers? I imagine we're a social media marketing world. I imagine any marketer who wants to reach consumers, any agency. Do you have an avatar of your consumer who you typically want to reach, or do you have multiple personas?
Well, the core persona would be a digital marketer that's really it has a website, a blog, social presence, does content marketing, which describes a lot of digital marketers nowadays, right? They maybe have webinars that they're trying to leverage better to generate traffic and generate leads. Often, if you're a marketer that has webinars and just does the webinar and just leaves it there, then you could use a software like ours, a solution like ours. If you're a social media marketer and just want to make social media stories or ads, etc., you could also use our platform. So there are multiple use cases, of course, but businesses that have a strong online presence and do lots of online activity would be our core audience.
So it sounds like, it's really interesting because I have a good understanding of who that is, because I'm one of those people. I imagine you also approach agencies, big and small. So okay, let's talk about if I'm on your marketing team, and you're the head of marketing. What are I'm really interested in how do companies grow and scale their businesses? Yeah, right. It's a marketing challenge. So what are the types of things that you do to grow your business? Now, certainly, so you have a booth here at the Social Media Marketing World Conference. You are day and night into the wee hours. I say that jokingly because the thing closes at 6, but you and your team are all day giving demos. So I imagine exhibition at these type of conferences is important. But take us through a breakdown of your marketing and what, I'm looking for lessons and insights that other business owners of all types can learn about how they can grow their businesses.
Yeah, right. So I'll talk a little bit about what we do very well and maybe what we didn't do very well, because, to be helpful. So let's start with what we didn't do very well. Okay. Because sometimes that's more interesting. As marketers, we don't share that as much. Sure. So we've played around, or we've gone through a journey, and we still are, a journey of pricing. We've attracted low price points, and we're moving up the scale at this point. And last year, we've been focusing a lot about growth rather than increasing revenue. We wanted to hit the 10,000 paying customer mark. So we brought our prices down to get to a broader market. What that didn't allow us to do is to scale through ad spend. So that was something we didn't quite figure out when we started this, is that even though in hindsight it's very obvious, right? The lifetime value of those customers was lower. Yeah, we're very happy that we have 10,000 customers, but those come with a lower lifetime value. And the cost of acquisition for the customers via ads was way higher. Right. So as a result, we had to scale back a lot in our ad spend. It kind of ruined our whole ROI and our ad budget, which was pretty significant the year before. But during that year, we had to cut back a lot, which meant that we couldn't grow so much with new audiences that we would normally bring in through ads, right? Because with ads, you can target new audiences that never heard of you. And that was sort of a downside to it. So it's really, I think that's a big thing for startups and new businesses, in the growth stage, to figure out, okay, ROI of lifetime value versus cost of acquisition, figure out which channels really bring that highest delta. Right.
So this is really interesting. I just got off of a pitch conversation with an internal conversation. We're going to talk to the potential customer, and I said something that is, they're running some ads, they're not getting the amount of conversions that they want, and I said on the call, I said, this might be an unpopular opinion, but maybe the product isn't right, or the messaging is. I'm not saying that it's the case for you. The pricing isn't right. So I'm here, or you have the right core value proposition, but you're just not saying it the right way. You're ad creative. So here's my question for you, as it's just a bit of a tangent. Did you have an agency doing the media buy for you, or were you doing it internally?
No, we did it internally. And here's the thing, the cost of acquisition, there was nothing wrong with it, right? There's a certain market value for this cost.
But that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
That's my point, because I often find there's a disassociation sometimes between advertisers and what the market is telling you.
Mm.
The market is telling you, look, it costs X amount of dollars to acquire me as a customer, and at some level, it's going to cost me X plus 2 and X plus 10 and X plus 20 to acquire the next batch of customers. It incrementally gets more expensive. And the advertiser is coming to us and saying, look, we want to acquire a customer at $10. The market's saying, no, it's 25. So my question to you is, you recognize, I think is incredibly insightful and like self-aware that you recognize that, no, this isn't a failure of ad buying. This is the marketplace telling us what it can bear.
Right.
Like, do you agree with that statement, or like do you feel differently about it?
No, I'll just I would build on top of that. So yes, I think the cost of acquisition is a reflection of two things. One which you can control and one which you can't. You cannot control the cost of getting in front of people. That there is if your core audience has a certain price per mil or price whatever, right, and different platforms, and that you cannot control, right? The ad platform, the market controls that. You can control the conversion ratio. You can control how interesting you are, all of those things,
right.
And you can control the value you can drive from that person, right? The customer value, the customer lifetime value. So if you are, and that's up to you. You have to tweak it, right? So that when I'm saying cost of acquisition per customer, you're absolutely right. You have to work on your positioning, on your messaging, on your pricing. All of these things are variables in the equation, but there is a certain cost to getting in front of them on different channels, and it's just different for different channels, different for different ad buying, and that's not in your control as much.
Yeah.
Right.
And the fortitude, the stick-to-itiveness. Like the worst thing, and I was on a different pitch conversation on Friday, and what I told someone is like, the worst thing you can do is run a campaign for a month, toss out the baby with the bathwater and say, oh, the agency's not working, and then jump to another agency and you start all over with the learnings, with a different view. And you do this 3 times, you've done 3 different times where each agency has to start from scratch to learn your business. You might know the marketplace, you might know the vertical, but knowing the intricacies of your business, brands, marketers, I believe, need that stick-to-itiveness. They need the plan of action to go from, hey, I think we're going to do well, we're in the ballpark, we're close. Now let's have a plan of action as testing methodology to understand, like, now it's going to, let's perfect the messaging, let's perfect the price point, the core value proposition.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to say on this topic. So certainly it's a mistake to hop between agencies. There's absolutely no question. You're wasting everybody's effort here. There is often this desperation of early stage companies to think that, and a lot of pressure from investors, et cetera, as well, to think, oh, if I could just find this magical solution, right? If I could just find the right agency. I heard this amazing story of this one thing, somebody that's just nothing magical. There is none. This is marketing. It's hard work. It's expertise. It's money. It's gained knowledge. You have to do it. And it's going to cost time to get there. Now, is there a difference in quality between one agency and another? Of course. Although some agencies that all they're interested in is getting you through the next month and not really servicing you to the best, your best. Absolutely. Other just like in any business or in any industry, other agencies that specialize in a certain niche, and maybe this is not your vertical and whatever. Absolutely. So you have to choose well. But the thought that, just sort of randomly hopping between one another, and maybe I'll hit some jackpot, that's just, wishful thinking. And I think when you start working with an agency, again, some agencies provide tremendous value.
Sure.
Absolutely. I've worked with and without agencies, and there are pros and cons to each. When you're selecting an agency, I think one has to have an honest conversation with both sides and open it up and open up the data and say, this is my lifetime value. This is how much I need to spend per customer to make it worth it for me. and then have the equal information from the other side. This is how much it'll cost me to get in front of your potential customer. This is how many of them I think I can get to actually respond to the ad,
right?
Which means X cost minimum on my end, right? So if we can make these two models match, we've got win-win situation. And if you cannot make these models match, well, maybe you need to find somebody who has a better expertise with your market, with your niche. That could be the case.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is just not the medium for you, or maybe you need to tweak something in your business model.
Another interesting point, because we really focus on ad buying. Like, I would argue we're almost not an agency because we primarily serve other agencies.
Yes.
And we power their media buying teams, programmatic, social, the whole thing. Sometimes we work with advertisers because they happen to be relationships I might have, but we don't actively seek them out. And it's like we know that if there's no one that has any sort of role around strategy, we know that's like we're halfway into the failure zone already because there's no one thinking about that. And I learned that recently when I got such a nasty gram from one of these prospects we've been working with. And I told this person, like, we don't do strategy. And in like 4 months after we started working together, they didn't understand that we don't do strategy.
Yeah.
It's challenging. So it's understanding. I think often what we do, and I know I'm derailing the conversation, I'm really much more interested in what you have to say than what I have to say, but I often find that a lot of what we do is akin to coaching, therapy. It's like, let's get it all out the door, out into the world so that we can all understand what exactly needs to be done. Because I find that a lot of times people in charge of marketing, they have an idea about the tactics, and I'm talking small and mid-size. I'm not talking about Fortune 500 or even large brands. I'm talking about, just smaller budgets, smaller companies. They don't even realize, they just know I can buy ads on Facebook and Google.
Yeah.
Let's do that. It's like I've had to learn, one of the biggest things I learned over the last 6 years of running my agency is like, no, if you're saying that, chances are it's going to devolve into a $1,000 test, and that one test may or may not randomly perform over a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the thing that they say, oh, well, your agency doesn't work. It's like, we don't, like, I steer away from those types of people. Like, there has to be a commitment, a doubling down on like the relationship. Yeah. So I digress. So you're doing ad buying. The marketplace spoke to you about what it wants and what it's willing, how you can acquire customers and what the cost of acquisition is. So did your ad buying fundamentally, it sounds like the data from the ad buying reverberated back into your business.
Yes, of course. So last year we focused a lot on growth, and most of that growth came from our existing audience, because the cost of acquisition we dropped the lifetime value on purpose to increase growth, but that meant we couldn't spend as much in terms of acquisition. So we ended up really acquiring a lot more customers from our existing audience. And that came through a lot of programs such as influencer programs, community management, content marketing, a lot of this kind of work which really outreaches to the existing base. And this year, now we're sort of moving to the next level where we're actually looking more at growing the audience, growing the traffic, growing and through acquisition as well. So the other side of the equation is, okay, we have to increase the lifetime value. Let's bring those numbers up so we can spend more on acquisition so that formula works better, right?
So can I ask you?
Yeah.
So, and this is kind of I kind of don't think you're going to have the answer because it's like a weird question, and I don't like metrics don't work like this necessarily. But would you say there's always a question of, okay, I'm going to run ads and I'm going to get immediate customer acquisition. What I've been hearing and what I've been experiencing with some of our ad campaigns is that you can reach people all you want, but if they don't know who you are, like, it's not going to make a difference, which then means either there's something misaligned with the messaging or the core value proposition or the landing page, but all those things would be 100% correct. You just need to nurture, brand, I think with Google has this research report that says people need between 20 and 200 touch points before they make a purchase. Right. So my question is, is your customer journey or funnel more focused in on nurture and brand and build a relationship with the customer, and some of it is direct customer acquisition? I never met you before, but come buy us. Or is it reverse? Are you like getting a bunch of customers by running ads? It's like, I've never heard of you, but I like you and I'm going to buy. And there's a little bit of customer nurture going on. Like, how would you balance that?
Yeah, certainly we have a bit of each of these stories. It's very hard to control. I say I don't want customers that want a certain journey. It's very hard for a company to say I don't want them, right? Because they're willing to buy or to pay, etc. So we definitely have some that are sort of impulse buyers. They come in and they're just willing to buy right away. 90% of our customers buy within 2 hours of reaching our website, and they do it essentially because they see it as a trial period, right? And they pull out their credit card, they try our software, and either they like it or they don't, right? Those tend to be higher. The ones who did it without any kind of relationship with our product and brand tend to be much higher churn customers, because they're just like, it's an impulse buy. I come in, I see, oh, this looks like it might be what I need, and then maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
And I don't even know if I need it, exactly. But it looks cool.
It looks good. No, it's kind of as I'm looking for something in this area. Otherwise, I wouldn't put out my credit card.
Sure.
But I'm just gonna. It's a random gamble, right? They don't know that this is what they need. They're just trying it. What we do is we go from our ads strategy goes from awareness, we use content, we use ads, different kinds of ads, to basically give videos, a lot of videos, to see who's engaging with the general topic that we represent, the general areas of influence that we represent, which is video marketing mostly, and content marketing in general, social media marketing. So the intersection of those three is what we're trying to really get people in. And then sometimes they're very tactical ones, like, people are looking for stock videos, then clearly they're editing videos or whatever, so they might also be interested in us. So we have some of those kind of things, right? And those ads are designed to bring people to our content, to our website, not to drive a sale.
Sure.
So our goal is to build an audience with that brand. We tag them through the pixels, right?
Yeah.
And then we give them, and then what we do is we promote them with we promote content to them. So we'll take blog posts and repurpose them into videos. We're very good at this kind of work, and partly because our platform does it. And so therefore we had to learn how to be the best at it and really practice it. And that was a journey too, but we can promote content to them, and then they engage with the content. And so some people are ready to buy today. Some people don't need your product today, but they're really interested in it because they know that at some point they're going to be working with it, right? If you sell too early, what's the point, right? They'll churn. So we want to, so if you look at the nurturing sort of thing from only a technical standpoint, where you say, okay, I have a pool of people, another pool of people, another pool of people, and you don't really get how you're trying to work with them, then it's not going to work as effectively as if you combine this approach with influencer marketing and content marketing and SEO as well. Because when they click on that ad, they're also going to go to Google and search for, is what I heard here even true? Accurate. Or, right, I saw it in an ad. I'm going to do my own work. I'm going to search, right? So I got to make sure I'm in search on the top in the front page, so they see my name again, at least see it, and say, oh, yeah, that's right. Those guys, they're good at this, right? When the time comes to buy, they already kind of know what we're about. They know what the solution is, a few keywords or key phrases associated with our solution. So they kind of get it. And they walk in with a more open mind and more ready for a purchase. So really, we work on these stages. But yet again, of course, there are always those that just show up somewhere along the journey in the random place and are like, oh, I'm going to try it, I'm going to buy it, I like it or not, and I'm going to continue with whatever that means to me.
So do you have a way of tracking when a consumer is kind of like early in the consumer journey with you, or middle or late in the consumer journey? Like, do you have a way of identifying that? Like, the 90% of people who see an ad and then they purchase. within 2 hours. Like, do you know, like, you got 100 purchases? Is there a way through, I don't know, like, is there some metric that helps you isolate the ones who are, I don't know, like, new to that journey, so you can keep marketing to them while they're in their trial period?
To an extent, there are different tactics we use. Of course, exclusion categories, cookies, UTM codes,
Sure.
etc. They're limited. You're very limited in that ability. I've just learned recently a technical thing that Facebook actually strips out UTM codes from a lot of the links when somebody, for instance, clicks in an ad in mobile. So yeah, we found some ways around it, but it's it just shows up as organic. So there's a limit to how much you can exclude them. Now, Facebook themselves allow you to exclude them, and there's a lot of technical work around that to do it. But even then, it just never accurate. People clean out their cookies. They show up in a different device. They find you in a group, right?
Sure.
And or they hear about you through an influencer. So I believe, we try to set up these programs, but we always have it set up in such a way that if somebody enters at a random point in the journey, it still works out. It just, maybe they're not quite as prepared, but it's never, it's never like, oh, you don't know what it's not like a serial, Netflix series where it's if you missed the last 2 seasons, stop here, go back to season 1.
Right.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense.
So basically, give the consumer a message, give them, know that they're going to look for some sort of validation around the messages that you're sending them, give them a lot of content, and give them an opportunity to purchase. I don't know. That's probably not the right order, but that's sort of the general. I really think it's interesting how you're using content to nurture and build brand, because all I'm thinking about is ad buying, right? Like, all this other stuff is like.
Well, we use ad buying to promote content in the early stages. So we look at it: educate, position, sell. Right? Without the education, it's very hard to try and position or sell your product. It's especially nowadays. People want to understand, and the education part is a bit more expensive because you're going much broader in the market, right? You're not you're building an audience, and so a smaller portion of those people are going to eventually buy your product, right? But if you build a strong audience and you become known among that audience, over time they will buy, right? As long as they're potential customers.
Yeah.
Right. They might not need you today, they might need you tomorrow. But if you're only going for the ones who need you today, then you're not looking down the road. You're essentially missing out on a whole bunch of people that will need you tomorrow.
Right.
Right. And you're missing out on 99% of the market. You're only attacking the more highly competitive market of those that everybody else is bidding on right now.
Sure. Right. Everyone wants right now, and that's the toughest market.
And that's the comparison stage. And that's exactly when customers will compare you to your competitors.
Sure.
And guess what? That's very tough. And if they're already in that stage when they discover you, well, they're going to go either with who they already know and trust, or the cheapest.
Right, and you don't want to be the price competition, especially if you're raising your rates.
Yeah.
Even if you have a much better product. Two, three, four final questions. Number one is: are you? I imagine you're a private company. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
And do you have any venture funding, or is it bootstrapped?
We are a spin-off of a larger company called JetBrains. So
called what?
JetBrains.
Oh,
yeah, it's a funny name. They're like $1 billion company that if you're a Java developer, you know who JetBrains are.
Okay.
Nobody else does.
Yeah.
Huge company. They develop software for engineers, and we were the first internal startup because we said we want to do stuff for marketers, and they said, okay, well, we're going to spin you off. You do your own thing. So we have money from outside, but it's not a VC. It's not your traditional investor. We have money. So
you have money. It's interesting because I think, when you look for businesses that are trying to be unicorns, with all the SoftBank debacle that's happening with WeWork and others, it's like they have a different set of playing rules. Like, I imagine, and I don't know, you can tell me, like, it sounds like your company actually wants you to be profitable according to traditional business metrics.
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
Fascinating. But it probably also means that you have a little more latitude than I do with my company, where I'm 100% bootstrapping it, and it's like it has to kind of like pay out from day one.
So there's that, yes. And compared to the traditional VCs, which are constantly pushing you to grow, regardless if your business model works or not.
Yes.
Right? They are thinking of their own exit, like the next round, funding round. So they will often push you to grow, even if you're losing money. And even if they'll figure out the business model later. As long as there's a market, they'll figure it out. And I just need to get them to the next round, and then whoever's the next investor will push them to the next round. And it's a little bit of a pyramid scheme. It's not a scheme, but there's a little bit of that element in there, and we call it risk. Right? Yeah, some of them are never going to figure out a business model, and some will, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? Because on average, it works out for us. In our case, we're looking to be profitable. We're not yet, and we're also looking for growth. They seldom come together. But yeah, if you're bootstrapped, it's a huge benefit to be able to get to profitability first.
Yeah.
And then either raise money on your own terms or do what the heck you want with your own money. It's amazing, especially if you're if you're very clear about your own life work or your own life goals. Right? If your goals are to retire at a certain age or do something with your life, not become a workaholic and work forever, which is where the VCs are going to take you, right? So it's much more difficult to get there, and it's a longer road to growth. But if you can get to profitability early without outside money, I would hands down do it. There's simply no question in my mind. And then choose to take some money from somebody else if you want to, and say, but you're never going to control me. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. You're never going to tell me. And you don't want it, bye-bye. And if you're profitable and you're good, and there's a good market, you'll find people will give you money, right? So
that's a good situation to be in.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up the interview, Daniel, I'm a big foodie. You live in Boston. Yeah. I imagine, just like you're here in San Diego, you travel a lot. I'm actually going to Boston later this month. What kind of is there any sort of like Bostonian food that I should be looking at, or what do you love to eat? Like, give me some ideas.
Oh wow. Well, certainly Boston is known for different seafood. We've got good oysters, of course, and not like in the Gulf. There are different kind of oysters, but in the Gulf of Mexico. But but there's a lot of good seafood. There's a small chain I like called Tate. It's kind of a chain of it's like a cafe / restaurant-ish kind of thing. Very, very good food. I think they're Israeli originally or based. Yeah, so it got that twist to it.
Tate, T-A-T-E,
I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Just my perennial favorite. If you're into like a light fare. And if you just walk around the seaport area, you'll find lots and lots of really nice sort of restaurants. Pier 34 is a nice one I like. You can find very upscale. If you're not from a very large city, you'll probably love dim sum in the Boston Chinatown. That's something that a lot of people don't know what dim sum is. It's kind of like a very special cuisine of small dishes, kind of like the Chinese Tapas, there you go.
Oh, dim sum is the best. I had dim sum with my wife in Hong Kong.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's like I could eat that all day.
And so those are great. So you could, there's lots of food in Boston. Check out TripAdvisor and pick anything.
No, this is good. Personal recommendations. Daniel, how can people find you?
I'm all over the place. So you can find me at Wave.video. On LinkedIn, just search for Daniel Glickman. I have my personal website, cmoconfessions.com, and I have my own podcast, which is BTU, or the Business to User podcast, which I launched recently and I'm very excited about. So all these ways I'm there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate your time.
You're very welcome. Glad to be here.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the LA Business Podcast. If you like what we're doing on this podcast, please consider subscribing on Apple or Google Play, leaving a 5-star review, and sharing with your friends. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations for a guest you'd like to hear on this podcast, please email me, robert@brillmedia.co. Thank you. Have a fantastic day.